All right. Well, that sound that you hear in the background is my swamp cooler, and I really, should turn it off. And then that's fiber, and can't turn him off really in any way, shape, or form. Someone's probably walking in front of the house, and he's letting them know that they shouldn't be there because that's kind of what he does. Some people get that, and some people don't. That dogs do what dogs do, but in any case, I'm not going to turn off the swamp cooler because I'm still really hot. I was cutting up wood so that it would fit in the trash. It's old, kind of decaying and rotting wood that I need to get rid of, and the only way that I can get rid of it in the takeaway trash, without driving to the dump. Which if I can avoid doing it, and if I can avoid wasting the gas, I'm going to attempt to avoid wasting the gases by chopping it up in little pieces and then putting it in the trash can for the sanitation workers to take on Wednesday, which is coming up. So I have been doing that outside, and I got hot. But in the process of doing it, I was contemplating name calling because I did a piece recently on I did a couple of pieces, I guess, on my local neighbors here, and the way that they often resort to name calling for reasons that escape me. But that's just the culture here. So what am I going to do? And as I was chopping up this wood, I was sort of meditating to myself, aloud, and oh wow, that's really interesting. I didn't know Trump, had reference to the Alfred E. Newman Theater, but that's fascinating. This is, by the way, a list of nicknames used by Donald Trump, and these nicknames, that's a euphemism, are essentially a form of name calling, right? And demonstrate this emotional immaturity that I'm going to be discussing in this video. Anyway, so I had been, sort of processing, verbally processing aloud, as a form of meditation, maybe types of sources that my neighbors could utilize for new names to call me, since they these particular neighbors who like to call me names, and I'm assuming that they call other people names as well, do so because they lack vocabulary to express themselves in other ways, and also lack the ability to communicate in more significant and substantial forms of verbal discourse, and probably have a lot of aggression and fear and anxiety, and anyway, low self-esteem and emotional immaturity and social immaturity, and I was thinking about all these things and sources that they could use. I thought about a thesaurus that they could utilize if they ran out of names that were interesting to call me, and because they seem to be repeating the names that they call me quite often, and Aaron became aware of this too in his discourse on name calling, and made much use out of it in the repetition of this limited number of names. So I thought about thesaurus, and I thought about domains, different kinds of domains in which names name calling gets played out. So I thought about the schoolyard playground, and the 5-year-old names, and interestingly, I could only really think of one 5-year-old name, and I thought of because someone called me a name today as they were walking by, or at least I perceived that it was directed at me. It might have been directed at someone else, but they quite clearly, as they were walking by the fence where I was doing the work, uttered the word loser. And then of course I automatically thought of Trump, because that's his favorite insult term, right? Loser, because in spite of the fact that he actually did lose the 2020 election, he can't face that fact, right? Because that would be admitting that he also, like the rest of us, is capable of losing. But anyway, so I thought about these different domains, and I guess because I heard this person say the Trump name, then I thought about all of like the names that he likes to use, and I associate Trump with that domain of like, oh, the toxic male, right? Like the pretend alpha male. Like they're never really alpha males, or I don't even know what that really means. But he wants to be the big tough guy, but he can't even walk more than a few yards without getting out of breath and slipping or falling and or demanding someone get a golf cart to carry him around in, and so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about the primary school playground names, the 5-year-old names, and then it struck me, and like all of a sudden that you could do combinations, and I was so excited that I finished up the wood cutting that I was doing, and I went in the front yard, and someone was walking down the road, and I thought I would share my excitement at coming up with this new way for my neighbors to come up with interesting ways to call me names, which was like combining, right, the emotional immaturity playground names of the 5-year-old with the toxic masculinity names, right? And the only 5-year-old playground name that I could really remember was Poo Poo Head, and the Trump name that really was sticking with me was Loser. So this neighbor's walking down the street, and he's middle-aged and very out of shape, and has a big belly, and but is only wearing a pair of shorts, and he's topless, and then he has these little shoes on, and I started to get excited and explain this thing to me, and then he cut me off, and he said, well, I don't have time to listen to this stuff because I'm at work, and I'm taking a very important call. And it never occurred to me that this middle-aged man, wearing, was essentially underwear or a diaper, walking down the road with one of those little white thingy dings in his ear would actually be, working. And work has really changed a lot since when I used to work, but. I thought that this must be like super casual Mondays, I guess, and so he couldn't. I said, well, I'll follow you, and he said, no, this is a very important call. I'm busy at work, and then he walked off in his little diaper to take his call. So I was disappointed that I wasn't able to express this basic idea that. I think comes from Terminator 2, right? The John Connor in his pre-teen stage or early teen stage, he's probably about 13. Is explaining names that you can use and call people. Well, he's a kid, and so you kind of excuse him because it's kind of funny when you're a teenager or a preteen. And he's teaching Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, the T2, right, the Terminator, how to call people whatever his terms are. His terms are teenage, so they're not really like playground names. And my playground name, which if I hadn't mentioned it yet, is the only one that I could really think of from being in kindergarten or first grade was Poo Poo Head. So I wanted to share this idea that that I probably got from John Connor, or who says, and I'll quote, and you can do combinations. You can do combinations, right? So this is a combination. This is a combination of the emotional immaturity, right, set, like that belongs to the kindergartner, and it's a whole set, right? I'm only going to provide one example, but it's a whole set where you can do combinations of that. And maybe you could do the preteen set, like the fascination with like the sexual double entendre or the dirty words and stuff. But this one is derived from the kindergarten set, the emotional immaturity set of the kindergartner, and the toxic masculinity set of Trump. And so the example, of this combination, which idea of combinations, I probably got from John Connor. Can't remember the actor's name who plays this character, but is you poo-poo head loser. And so, that's what I was trying to express to this guy that was working, walking down the road in, probably not a pair of underwear or a diaper, but, kind of, evoking, that image. A bit that was too, busy being at work and taking an important work call to really, fully appreciate this epiphany, right, about doing these combinations.